morning, Todd. The president has long said he would respect the rule of law, trying to distinguish himself from President-elect Trump, who has accused the Justice Department of being politicized. But the president says he does feel Hunter has been unfairly targeted. In a statement, the president says, "From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making, and I kept my word even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice." Time and time again, the White House and the president have said he would not pardon Hunter or commute his sentence. The White House at times getting frustrated when asked multiple times about the possibility.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
Reaction from Democrats have been mixed. Colorado's Governor Jared Polis saying, "I am disappointed that he put his family ahead of the country. This is a bad precedent that could be abused by later presidents." Arizona Congressman Greg Stanton saying, "I respect President Biden, but I think he got this one wrong. This was not a politically motivated prosecution. Hunter committed felonies and was convicted by a jury of his peers." President-elect Trump weighing in as well, saying, "Does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the J6 hostages who have now been imprisoned for years? Such an abuse and miscarriage of justice." Hunter's sentencing hearings were scheduled for December 12th for his gun case and December 16th for his tax case.
What is that even from? Jerry, I don't even know the references anymore. It's multi-level chess, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional chess from Jerry this glorious morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is our first show in December. We will be Christmas maxing here in the studio very soon. We will set up Christmas lights all behind the studio. The AR-15s are going to get sparkly Christmas lights. We're going to put a Christmas tree up in the studio. We are Christmas maxing. You should be Christmas maxing. We have been MAGA maxing on this program. And today we are going to explain to you why the Hunter Biden pardon from Joe Biden that happened in the dark of night last night, approximately 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is one of the best things to ever happen. I'm not in favor of it. I think it's despicable. But we're going to explain to you how this can be used for good and why we should actually be thankful for the criminality of this moment. Of course, we'll be joined by Mike Davis and Tom Fitton, some of the best legal experts in the world on this topic, live on the show today, December 2nd, 2024. Trump nominates Kash Patel. Kash wasn't available for our show today. First time ever. First time ever. Kash Patel's got some business to attend to, but we're going to talk about that business for Kash today and how excited we are that no more credit cards accepted at the FBI. Cash only, ladies and gentlemen. We have a rockin' good show for you. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. You're going to learn a little bit about presidential pardon power on this program. It's one of the few executive powers that was actually written into the Constitution itself. And it's really important to know that the executive, the president, has grotesquely and obesely absorbed so many powers that are utterly unconstitutional. Now, hopefully, those get whittled down. This comes in the creation of government agencies. This is not the intent of our founders. If you wish to know the intent of our founders, well, maybe you should go to Hillsdale College and pick up a free course on the founding of the American Republic, because that's actually how we keep it, by understanding how this nation was founded, why this nation was founded, and you can do it today. Hillsdale College is offering 40 free online courses in the most important and enduring subjects in the world. You can learn about C.S. Lewis, the Roman Republic, the U.S. Constitution, the Book of Genesis. It's all free, free, free. I personally recommend that you sign up for Economics 101 because we are about to enter one of the greatest bull years, I think, of my lifetime. I think the Trump years are going to be wild and very interesting. You should get, this is a chance for you to get your economic footing underneath you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a course that I recently took, Economics 101, the principles upon which our society functions in a free market system. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/Benny to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. Hillsdale.edu/Benny to register. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know what I think about the Hunter Biden pardon, I'll tell you this. We were right. We were right. What else can I say? This show, Alex and I were just talking about this, has been screaming into the wilderness for nigh on 4 straight years, the 4 straight years of the Joe Biden regime, until our voices cracked, having on guests like Kash Patel, Julie Kelly, and Mike Davis. Bringing on Kash Patel when, like, we were the only show that would book Kash Patel. Now he's going to be the FBI director. The point is that we have been talking about and covering the criminality of the Bidens for a very long time. And it hasn't been a political issue for me. It's always been a moral issue. This is not an issue of me thinking that I can score some cheap political points. I can't on this. It's an issue of me as a young father understanding the nature of other human beings. And this is something that I think is really important. You have to understand that people are put together in specific ways, and there is unfortunately a reality to the culture of politics in America, which up until very recently, the most degenerate, lawless, criminal element seems to rise to the top through our political system and gets themselves seats that they didn't deserve, certainly didn't earn through merit, through open and grotesque criminality. And the entire American government is structured as an elite cabal to enrich and to protect criminals. And therefore, criminals are the ones who rise to the top. It is parasitic in nature. I hit a pothole coming into work today that's the size of one of those giant craters in the wilderness of Russia. Why? I live in a successful, booming city here in Florida. Why is there a massive pothole in my street? Why has no one in our politique thought about the existence and the sufferings of regular Americans like me, a dude who just drives to work every morning just like you do? I leave my family, I kiss my kids, I get in my car, I drive to work, we come home, I get to spend an hour with my kids. That's my life. It's probably similar to your life. But every single day there's a different oppression or a different anger point upon which our federal government has failed me. Our government in total has failed me because it's not structured around human flourishing. It's not structured around taking care of regular Americans. It's structured around giving money to Ukraine and Israel and every other country in the world and every other nation on earth, and filling the coffers of the most corrupt and sickest regimes and dictatorships, and causing the wholesale slaughter and carnage of people in places like Ukraine. They don't even have people anymore in Ukraine. There are no such thing as the fighting age man in Ukraine. They're all gone. They're done. They've destroyed their population. You take a step back and you say, how does us giving $1 trillion to Ukraine help me not hit a pothole? Isn't that money taken off of my back? Isn't that money taken from my children's mouths? Aren't I the one paying 50% in freaking taxes of everything I make. Something also wholly unconstitutional, but we don't have time for that. The entire system is rigged against us. And it's set up like that so that people like Joe Biden can get to the top. Creatures like Joe Biden. And we're going to talk a little bit about Hunter Biden. Oh, wow, Hunter Biden. But really, it's Joe Biden who got pardoned. We're going to explain. Joe Biden's pardon of Hunter Biden is the largest presidential pardon in modern American history. It's much larger than Watergate. In fact, it's twice as big as Watergate. The pardon of Hunter Biden is 11 years, covers 11 years, a blanket pardon. If this was about Joe Biden just keeping Hunter out of jail for the crimes that he has been convicted of, which are just a scintilla of the actual crimes that Hunter Biden committed, then he would have just commuted the sentence. This is why you have to understand, we went and reread pardon power and commutation power in the U.S. Constitution. Joe Biden does have the absolute authority to do this. Has any president ever pardoned his son before? No. Has any president ever pardoned his direct family member? Well, only Bill Clinton and his brother. Bill Clinton pardoned his brother-in-law, actually. And these two people are Bill Clinton and Joe Biden, two of the biggest venal, selfish, grotesque liars to ever hold the office of the presidency, so it's on brand. But take a step back. How's your system set up? Let's start from the system level. The system is set up so that when Joe Biden sends an extra $1 billion to Ukraine, it's Joe Biden's family that's getting paid. That's why there's a war in Ukraine. The entire war in Ukraine has been fought in its entirety. Like, entire populations of people have been wiped from the earth because of Biden corruption and because of American meddling in that region. That's a matter of fact. Maybe it's time to revisit that with a Mike Benz, right, who'd be one of the world's experts in that. But it's a matter of fact that the Bidens were covering not only their crimes, but the crimes of the entire American industrial and intelligence operations in Ukraine as we use that country as a proxy war to enrich American oligarchs and elite and corrupted American families who operate as a cabal, parasitically on our system. They tell you we're fighting in Ukraine for democracy. What we're actually fighting to do is to protect the Bidens, to cover up their crimes, and to enrich further defense contractors, generals, political elites, insider traders, traitors like Nancy Pelosi. That's the way the system's set up. And Joe Biden's pardon of Hunter is a full mask-off moment about what this system is. I'm thankful for it. I really am. Not only does it make us right, because we've been yelling about this, we have been talking about it when the audience was zero. We've been talking about this until our voice cracked. Mike Davis will be joining the show. Mike Davis has been coming on this program for 4 years to tell us about the crimes of the Biden family. Kash Patel, Julie Kelly. So it makes us right, but then also it exposes the system. And so we're thankful for this moment because you can't put the genie back in the bottle. We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It'll never, ever be the same. Joe Biden doing this exposes the entire system as it is designed currently and why it must be destroyed. So I'm thankful actually for this pardon. I'm glad for it because it is the final chapter, the closing of the loop on how the system works. Go commit crimes by leveraging your public office, your public service, create a criminal enterprise around your public service, and then pardon everyone in that criminal enterprise on your way out the door. Keep the millions. Defraud the American taxpayer, commit enormous numbers of sex crimes, human trafficking, underage. It is sick what's on that Hunter Biden laptop. Do that while waving a gun around in the women's faces, which is what was happening with Hunter Biden in multiple videos. We don't even know where all these firearms are. Joe Biden's firearm was left in the top of a trash can across the street from a school. Joe Biden going on and on about school shootings, then pardons his son for leaving a gun in an open garbage bin across from a high school. No. It proves the fraudulence. It proves the virtue signaling and signaling alone. They have no virtue. There is no moral high ground. And at the very least, Donald Trump presents himself to America and says, I'm a broken vessel. I've made mistakes. But I'm better than that lot who says we've never made a mistake. And we're somehow morally preening and preaching to you about our high standards. They have no, there are no standards left. Joe Biden has, in his final act of venal selfishness and senility, atomized the Democrat Party. And the last veneer that they had to say no one is above the law, well, Hunter Biden just proved that nobody is above the law except for 11 years of my life. With the largest blanket pardon in history. But really, the pardon is for Joe Biden. I'm going to show you a photo here. There's a reason why this show has gone so hard in the paint against Joe Biden. And it's because we are alive. We pay attention. We're breathing. And we track pattern recognition on this program, I think, as good as anybody. I'd put us up against anyone out there. We work really, really hard. We're alive and we pay attention. And that beats talent any day, actually, to be quite honest with you. Beats high IQ. We never claim to have super high IQs over here. We're just alive and we recognize patterns. So here's a pattern. It's a photo you may or may not recognize. This is a photo from well before I was born. Well before my life began. A decade before my life began, in fact. And you'll see someone here laying in a hospital bed. That's Hunter Biden. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is Joe Biden being sworn in some ceremony. Joe Biden, in this image, is using his son as a prop after his wife died in a car accident. Now, I'm not going to talk about the situation behind his wife dying in a car accident. Let's just take it from the perspective of the family. It's a tragedy when that happens. Joe Biden is not taking this opportunity to comfort his child, who's currently in the hospital because Hunter Biden was in the car with the mom, with his mother. Joe Biden's not their mother. You know this, but maybe you don't. Joe Biden broke up Jill Biden's marriage and caused horrible pain to his own marriage by cheating on his wife with Jill Biden, who was the babysitter. But I digress. This isn't what this is about. This is about the moral fabric of certain individuals and why our system is so corrupt and why it must be destroyed. Because somebody of Joe Biden's moral fabric shouldn't be allowed in a just and moral system. He wouldn't be able to rise to the top. People would see moments like this where Joe Biden isn't comforting his child. He's using him as a prop in a hospital bed. Joe Biden saw his wife dying and took advantage of that. Took advantage of the horrors and pain just inflicted on his young children in order to accelerate his career. There is someone who I think is actually extremely low IQ. It's Joe Biden. He's a brute. Joe Biden graduated at the bottom of his class. Joe Biden could barely graduate. He's not a smart person. And just like brutes, he has these banal instincts that he just can't get over. Like, hey, my kids are in a hospital. My wife just died. Better take advantage of it politically. Nobody with a stitch of moral fiber would ever make that decision. This photo wouldn't exist for you or for me. My kids have been in the hospital, actually, this year. I assure you, we aren't doing live feeds from it. It is excruciating. It's the worst pain a parent can feel. And yes, I cried real tears in the hospital when a small piece of crayon was extracted from my son's lung earlier this year. I was public about that. Because when that's happening, when your kids are literally in hospital beds, and your wife just died, the last thing you're going to think about is how does this serve me? But that was Joe Biden's first instinct, as proven by this photo. This was the reflex of Joe Biden was, my kids are suffering, my family's suffering, let's capitalize on it. How do I make this work out for me? There have been so many times in Hunter Biden's life when Joe Biden has stepped in and made Hunter Biden's demons work for him. Hunter Biden is a troubled man. Go listen to Tucker Carlson's stories about Hunter Biden. Tucker Carlson and Hunter Biden shared a hedgerow. They were neighbors in Georgetown. Hunter was Tucker's neighbor. Tucker Carlson was able to really see into the demonic, I believe, activities of this man who just is a broken man. Every step of the way, Hunter Biden's demons, let's just call them that, okay, because it's too many crimes to actually mention, and I don't ever look through his laptop if you don't want to look stare into the blackness of hell. Every step of the way, Joe Biden, who's right now being cast by those in the media who are trying to cope with this as a loving father, somehow like held up as a loving father, decided to do the exact opposite of what any loving father would do. What a loving father would do is punish his son. Nothing hits harder than life. You don't understand life until you get hit in the face, actually. You don't understand consequences until you feel the pain of the consequences. This is what a spanking is for a small child throwing a tantrum. There have to be actual physical consequences for behavior to change. It is the way that God carves us out of wood. Every step of the way, for every time that Hunter Biden had a flare-up, like for instance, when Hunter Biden was 18, he was picked up for crack cocaine. Bag of crack. He and his family were vacationing on the Jersey Shore. Hunter had a bag of crack in his pocket. He was booked, and then Senator Joe Biden used all of his muscle to get his kids sprung from jail, no mugshot, and just the slightest, and like there's a record of it. There's a record, but then no actual prosecutions. Every single step of his life, Hunter Biden was bailed out and saved by daddy, not out of the love of a father, but out of the sheer love of Joe Biden for himself. Now let me unpack that. If the scriptures are very clear about this, God treats us like children. There are consequences in life, and it's for us to learn. If you don't love your son, you won't discipline him. That then curses the child to live a consequence-free life, which always ends the way Hunter Biden's does. In open degeneracy and worthlessness. Men must know consequences. Hunter Biden's father refused to love him. Joe Biden only ever loved himself. And by Joe Biden loving himself, he used Hunter Biden, just like he used him as a prop in this photo. He used Hunter Biden again and again and again to enrich himself. It was Hunter Biden's whose name were on the manifests of these shady business deals. It was Hunter Biden who created this labyrinth of shell companies to hide taxes from the federal government, to funnel foreign money, to break FARA violations, to fuel his son's darkest demons. Because the last thing you want to do if you have a crack addict son, and Hunter Biden's been a crack addict since at the very least 18 years old, when he was first booked for crack cocaine on the Jersey Shore. We have the police record. The last thing you want to do is put him in front of fire hoses of money, unaccountable dollars from all around the world, from the shadiest places on earth. That's the last thing you would do if you actually loved your son. There's this sort of sick, bubbling up theory that it's just because Joe Biden, even on the right, just because Joe Biden loves his son, that he's doing this. Any father would do that. Not me. I had it out with my wife this morning. I looked my wife straight in the eye and I said, you know what? If one of our children is 55 years old, is a lawyer, and is committing international crimes, and is putting other people's lives in danger, then it's time for me to do two things. One, admit my failings as a father, and then humbly submit to society's punishments for that wayward child, because they're an adult. They're not only an adult, they're past middle age. 55 years old, Hunter Biden. He's not some kid in prep school that got in with the wrong crowd. He's a 55-year-old adult. This is what you do if you love your child. You discipline them. You allow them to suffer the consequences of their actions. And that slowly carves them out of wood and creates a better, more civilized person. And it's your job, actually, spiritually, to do that right away as the children are learning and they're young, to provide that for them, that structure for them. This is what good fatherhood leads to. Joe Biden used his son. Joe Biden pardoned himself. That's why the pardon goes back 11 years to the initiation of Burisma, January 1, 2014. That's the date that the pardon goes back to. Is the largest pardon in modern American history, twice as large as the Watergate pardon that was given to Richard Nixon. So it's bigger than Watergate. And what is Joe Biden pardoning here? He's pardoning himself because he knows the crimes that were committed, and they started with the Burisma operation in Ukraine. Now, they impeached Donald Trump for just asking about this. Hunter Biden gets a full pardon. Blanket pardon. For that entire timeline. Which is Joe Biden doing an end run around and admitting something blatantly to all of us, which is that the Biden crime family, which we have gone on about on this show, is real. Not only is it real, it's so criminal, in fact, that prima facie, with a fair system of governance, they would be spending the rest of their lives in prison. All of them. Jim Biden, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. It is an admission that this show was right. It's an admission that they're so, in fact, criminal that the largest presidential pardon in American history is required to try and keep us out of jail for the rest of our lives. And in doing this, Joe Biden atomizes the Democrat Party. And that's another reason why we're thankful. Because no one will ever donate again. No one will ever believe them. Joe Biden has officially proven that he has lied to the American public, to their face, more time than we can count, but it's certainly in this scenario. Joe Biden said again and again and again, and had cringe Jean Pierre say again and again and again that he would never pardon his son. He's an unscrupulous, venal liar. And he just doesn't care. The entire system is set up for him and his parasite family to get as rich as they possibly can off of it. And then when the heat really gets turned up and one of them's about to go to prison, pardon everyone and bust. Flee. Leave. Grab as much silverware as you can on the Titanic before it goes down. They're criminals. It's the Biden crime family. It's been a criminal enterprise for a long time. It's always been a criminal enterprise. Joe Biden's been a liar for his entire career. Why did we go so hard on the Biden crime family? Not because of what Joe Biden did over the past 4 years, which of course deserve all of our scrutiny, but because we know who Joe Biden is. Here's a clip from also before I was born of Joe Biden having to quit a presidential race because of his egregious, remorseless lies to the American public. This is how long it's been going on. Here we go. Check this out. Okay, so I was 1 year old when this was broadcast. I was a 1 year old when this was broadcast. There's nobody at this company that was alive other than me when this was broadcast. Here we go.
Democratic presidential candidate Joseph Biden today faces a controversy. 3 weeks ago at a debate at the Iowa State Fair, he used phrases identical to those delivered by British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock.
Biden seemed to be claiming Kinnock's vision and life as his own.
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Gladys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania don't come up after 12 hours and play football.
8 hours underground and then come up and play football.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
There was no platform upon which they could stand.
The notion that every thought or notion or idea you'd have to go back and find and attribute to someone, I think is, quite frankly, ludicrous.
The problem here is that Senator Biden told his audience he'd just been thinking about these things and he failed to give any credit at all to his famous British speechwriter.
You know, I was thinking on the way over here. Now that's a little too much because, as you point out, what's behind the words? What's there? And a lot of people, the rap on Biden has always been that it's just a surface.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
But CBS News found a tape of a second instance.
It reappeared in the New York Times with a new charge, that Biden had appropriated a famous litany from the late Robert Kennedy about what the gross national product cannot measure.
It cannot measure the health of our children,
the health of our children,
the quality of our education,
the quality of their education,
the joy of their play,
or the joy of their play.
Look at that. and now that man's son is serving with Trump. RFK Jr. What a revenge. What a revenge. This is the nature of people. People don't change their natures. I believe in redemption. I believe in these things. But there has been no redeeming moment for Joe Biden. Joe Biden's never apologized for this. Joe Biden's been a liar. He's always been a liar. We can go back this is a nearly 40-year-old tape of Joe Biden lying again and again and again. The entire report goes on for almost 10 minutes. They find Joe Biden in lie after lie after lie after lie. And they told us that this was how you bring decency back to the White House. No one is above the law, Joe Biden posts on X. Yeah, except for an 11-year time period when, in fact, you and your son are above the law. But the most important takeaway here is that it was never about his love for Hunter. It was only about Joe Biden's love for one man, himself. His entire selfish life has been an act of self-service, enrichment, and the destruction of everyone around him. He's the single one-man wrecking ball to those who love him, to those who are close to him, to those who served with him, like Kamala Harris, who has no future at all in her party, to his own party itself. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. The Democrat Party does deserve it. They installed Joe Biden illegally. In 2020, Joe Biden won 0 primaries. They installed him anyway. Hey, man, you made your bed. Sleep in it. Then they kicked Joe Biden out after he wins every primary for a lady who didn't win any primaries. And now they did that because Joe Biden would destroy the Democrat Party, and now he destroys the Democrat Party. Democrat Party's single card that they could play with Donald Trump coming into office is no one's above the law. You can't just do whatever you want in the justice system. You can just pardon anyone you want. Joe Biden has just swaggerjacked that forever. It's going to lead to 50 years of MAGA. And that's the final thing that we're thankful for. The final thing that we're thankful for is that Donald Trump now has carte blanche to walk directly into office and pardon every J6er for crimes that are so much less severe than a single scroll through Hunter Biden's laptop. Kash Patel at the FBI should now take the laptop, make it public knowledge, and then have a full-scale special investigatory team looking into Hunter Biden's laptop and then filing charges against other Biden family members because Joe Biden's going to have to pardon pretty much everyone in all of D.C. Keith Olbermann has a great tweet up today saying, Joe Biden better get the pardon machine out because he needs to issue at least 10,000 pardons. Keith Olbermann, does he ever think before he posts? Admitting that all of Washington, D.C. is filled with criminals. This is the criminal element that we have been describing and discussing, and now the mask is off. Full exposure. Pardon Hunter, great. Now pardon everyone else. Every prosecutor, every Biden administration, every media figure, everybody. 10,000, not 10,000, 10 million pardons at least. Wait, so you're admitting the entire federal government, all of D.C., the entire DMV metro area are all criminals? Thank you, Keith Olbermann. Thank you. You have done our job for us. This is what they have exposed. And there's a final reason why I'm thankful that Joe Biden pardoned Hunter Biden. That's it. He exposed forever the corruption of the system. And for that, we are appreciative. Because the Democrat Party is in tatters. They're in ashes. Democrats from around the country are furious at this move because they know how it looks. They'll never be able to say no one is above the law again. And then Joe Biden, in one fell swoop, has, in Joe Biden's pardon, let's toss up the article here, please. In Joe Biden's pardon itself, Joe Biden says that his own Justice Department has been weaponized for political gain. Bro, thanks. I can't believe that you just said it. You just came out and said it. Why is it happening right now? We don't know. We have a wild next couple of months until Donald Trump takes the chair. We have 2 more months till Donald Trump takes the chair. Why is Joe Biden pardoning his son right now on a Sunday night, heading into a week where we're all going to do news? This is interesting. They wanted us to know. It's Joe Biden's revenge. Joe Biden doesn't need the Democrat Party anymore. The Democrat Party, those who still need the Democrat Party to run on, to operate, are abandoning it. And so with his last final selfish act, and I'm sure there will be many more in the next 2 months of wreckage, Joe Biden has no one left to please. He will simply behave like a bacteria, like the parasite that he is, and it will cause generational devastation to the infrastructure of the Democrat Party. And in the same breath and in the same act, give Donald Trump full power to right the wrongs of his administration. Donald Trump saying in response to this, hey, wait a second. Did you include the January 6th political hostages who have now been in prison for years? Such an abuse and miscarriage of justice is Donald Trump's response to this. Ooh, perfect. Just rings like a bell. Hunter Biden in the thumbnail of his pinky nail has committed more crimes. And there's probably more cocaine lodged up there than all January 6th political prisoners combined. Hunter Biden was charged by accident. This is the second blanket pardon they tried to give Hunter Biden. They tried to get spring Hunter Biden out of jail and give him blanket pardon on everything he's ever done. First time, the judge had to blow it up in Delaware. To the great credit of Judge Noriega is her name in Delaware. The judge blew up the plea deal because it was so egregious. So prima facie absurd to pardon someone for 11 straight years of criminal activity. They've never seen anything before. And so yes, Donald Trump now he always had full authority to pardon all J6 political prisoners. Now he has political motivation and inertia to do it with Joe Biden's selfish and despicable act. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden has said time and time again that he wouldn't do this. And so again, the reminder to anyone out there who believed that Joe Biden would bring decency, morality back to the White House, not only did he lie to your face, he moved a sex pest, international criminal junkie into the White House, which is where Joe Biden lived for quite a while. And there's a really interesting, as soon as Joe Biden moves Hunter Biden into the White House, the incidence of little baggies of crack cocaine being found in the White House increased exponentially. It went parabolic. Absolute God candle. Wow. Strange that for the man who's bringing decency back to the White House. Joe Biden tricked y'all. Y'all dumbasses. He tricked you. And now your party is going to suffer the wreckage of Joe Biden's last selfish acts. It's a beautiful thing to see. This is what actual justice, the wages of sin look like. This is far worse than letting Trump win in 2020. Here's Joe Biden lying again and again and again about this. Here we go.
As we sit here in Normandy, your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know. And I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
They tricked your dumbasses. Not you. Not this program. Felt like we were out in the wilderness. So many fake Republicans praising the Bidens and their decency and their restoration of norms. How's that going for you? Just one more cringe. We have to get our cringe in. We have to get our nuclear cringe in. We don't have cringe left. We have so little cringe left. And by the way, Joe Biden leaves the country. Joe Biden off to Africa, because that's what matters right now. Joe Biden flees to Africa on the eve of this pardon. He's gone. He's gone. There's going to be no press conferences, no cringe Jean-Pierre, because they know they'd have to answer for this.
Second one, would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no.
Okay. Let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
You've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentence for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
What does it feel like? What does it feel like to be lied to like that for so long? What does it feel like to be a sucker, to be left holding the bag? How does your brain operate? I mean, at some point you malfunction and you say, I can't compute anymore. The ones and zeros don't make sense. You told me that Kamala Harris was so bright, that she was the most qualified person to run for president, that she was definitely going to win, that Donald Trump was a felon and he would lose. How long until the entire system, like the old Soviet Union, built on pure corruption, how long until it implodes? Is it imploding right now? Are we experiencing the first stages of the true implosion of the corruption? Is Joe Biden the last act in this diseased church that is now crumbling? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a single man who has been exposing D.C. corruption for the better part of the last 30 years. He started with the last president who pardoned his family member. That would be Bill Clinton pardoning his brother-in-law, a man who's been a thorn in Bill Clinton's side, and a man who's been calling out the Biden crime family corruption and is experiencing great vindication today. The great Tom Fitton joins the program live now from Judicial Watch. Tom, what's it feel like to be right, like professionally all the time? That must be great for you. Your stock portfolio must be going bananas right now. If you're this right about what the fabric of the country is and the political landscape, then dude, you got to go with me to a casino sometime.
Well, you know, one of the reasons, Benny, I'm always outraged is because I'm always wrong. Because believe it or not, I believe people should be able to do the right thing, and they will do the right thing. And I'm always wrong about that, right? And it's because I'm an optimist that I'm always outraged. And what we see here, really, as you point out, is talk about the bookend for the racketeering operation that's been Joe Biden's political career. This pardon is an outlaw pardon, a rogue act by the president who's abused his authority. You know, pardons are supposed to be specific. This pardon wasn't specific. There's some specificity there related to the 2 charges, but he has a blanket pardon for everything else he may have possibly done up until yesterday. For all we know, he was doing coke in the White House yesterday, and he would have been pardoned for that under this theory of the pardon that Biden obviously didn't write. As far as I'm concerned, this was a self-pardon by Hunter Biden, written by Hunter's lawyers, signed on by a demented, senile president. And you know who's partly at fault for this? Republicans. They didn't impeach him. They didn't push to invoke the 25th Amendment. And so when you have someone like this in office, you can expect this type of abuse of power and corruption, because he's not the one doing it, and not that he would be honest if he were, but there are other factors in play here behind the scenes that I hope the next administration spends a lot of time investigating, because you can be sure Judicial Watch will.
Yeah, so let's move there. I think that this was something that, if you clearly know the nature of the Bidens, and you've been on this program, Tom, for years, we started the show off saying, listen to the people who have been right for years on this program. We've had the Tom Fittons, the Julie Kellys, the Mike Davises, and the Kash Patels of the world talking about the crimes of the Bidens and talking through the nature of the Biden crime family, and knowing exactly that the parasitic nature is, of course, going to be to use public office to absolve themselves of all of their crime, which this does. I mean, this effectively says we are the criminals, probably one of the biggest crime families in history. We've committed so many crimes that we need a pardon that's twice as big as Richard Nixon's. So it's the biggest presidential pardon in your lifetime or mine to absolve us of these crimes. And ultimately, this goes back to Ukraine, the date that the Burisma contract started. So you've been right. Trump was right to ask questions about what we were doing in Ukraine. And we are guilty, is what this says to me. It seems like the greatest admission of guilt potentially in American political history.
Well, and it's also perfectly consistent with everything else he's done in office. He's used the office to not only enrich himself, but to protect himself from accountability. And whether it be abusing office to target his opponents, working with his allies in Congress to impeach Trump, as you point out, for blowing the whistle on their corruption, and then trying to jail him in order to distract from the real corruption that was readily apparent to his own Justice Department, that there was this international racketeering operation, RICO, being run out of the vice president's home, vice president's office during the Obama administration, and it continued into the presidency. It's clear. So, you know, if Congress gets its act together, I'm suspicious that it will be able to. There'll be hearings on this, and frankly, though, the President Trump has another prosecution or investigation to commence once he's president into what went on with Joe Biden. And this is not a self-pardon. Joe Biden still faces, in my view, significant criminal liability for what went on with his son. Now the leverage in getting his son to testify against him is lessened, right? Which is the part of the point of the pardon, because there's nothing that prosecutors can give Hunter in terms of, you know, cutting his jail sentence in order to induce testimony. But we'll see. We need strong guys like Kash Patel, folks like Pam Bondi, and frankly, the president's got to direct this investigation out of the White House. Don't leave it to the Justice Department, because we know how that will work.
There has to be somebody held accountable for this. There's Jim Biden. Every Biden has their fingerprints on these shell companies. James Comer has come on this program numerous times and explained, sometimes for close to an hour, the shell company structure of the Biden family and how so many Bidens were getting paid off. And Joe Biden better have the pardon printer ready for every family member, because it seems like you could really cut this thing a lot of different ways.
Yeah, but it doesn't protect them all. Certainly the way the Hunter Biden pardon's been written, if I were the Justice Department or the Trump administration, I would just proceed accordingly. There are 2 cases that have been knocked out. Everything else that we are supposed to believe has been knocked out. Well, that's an area of law that Biden is standing on treacherous ice over, because typically pardons have to be specific as to the offense. And to have a blanket pardon like this, I would argue, isn't constitutional.
Wow. So you believe that there may be some constitutional challenges to this pardon?
Well, I think there are constitutional issues with the pardon. Whether there will be brave challenges to it out of the Justice Department under President Trump, that remains to be seen.
Okay. So the prosecutions and the investigations into the Bidens should continue. Donald Trump, with his first response to this, saying, what about January 6th political prisoners? Joe Biden include them? Do you think this is a telegraph of Donald Trump saying he will be pardoning J6 political prisoners? And Tom, what's your take on that? And more importantly, does this make it easier for Donald Trump to do that?
We'll talk about selective prosecutions, right? The January 6th defendants are all the target of a corrupted Justice Department. Not one of them was honestly prosecuted, as best I can tell, in the sense that whatever alleged crimes they did or were convicted of, it was the result, that process was the result of bad faith political decision-making by the Justice Department that, in my view, doesn't hold up in terms of the standards of justice Americans expect from the Justice Department. So every single one of them should be pardoned. And the pro-lifers targeted by the Biden administration, they should be considered for pardons. Frankly, anyone who was targeted by this Justice Department where there was a political angle, President Trump should be looking at it. And I mean like Senator Menendez to Santos to whoever. This Justice Department was corrupt to the core, and all prosecutions related to politics should be considered to be suspect.
Wow. So and it does seem like Donald Trump is making that play now. And what would be the system that would be in place there? So would Donald Trump on day one, could he just pardon J6 defendants in a similar blanket, in a similar pardon style? How would that operate, Tom? What would the mechanisms of that be?
Well, that's a good question, because I was thinking about that today because of what Biden had done. Looking at the history of pardons, there's there is precedent for just a mass pardon of anyone involved in January 6th, and they don't need the specificity other than offenses related to January 6th. And I think he might be able to do that with one document. The lawyers around him are probably going to want him to have him sign 1,500 documents, right? Plus a mass amnesty for anyone else that the Justice Department hasn't gotten around to prosecuting. So it can be done, I think, relatively quickly. It doesn't take the government long, unless they are stalling and engaging in sedition, which you can't rule out from the holdovers in the Justice Department and the nasty liberal Democrats who disguise themselves as career civil servants in the Justice Department. But it's going to be work, but it can get done, and there may be a way to get it done, within an hour of his being inaugurated.
Wow. So I guess the question is, how does Donald Trump then get the backbone from a legal perspective and the protection around him to get this done? Because this is obviously going to be there's going to be an antibody reaction to this happening in Washington, D.C. It's going to be actually the physical war of a lifetime. Because so many people, Matthew Graves, all the way through the Justice Department, have staked their entire and judges, all these judges have staked their entire professional career on making sure that January 6th is seen as the next the Pearl Harbor or 9/11 of our day.
Well, Graves is the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., who was appointed by Biden. So presumably he'll either be fired or will have resigned on Inauguration Day. The judges can complain. They might try to thwart it. But I would presume if they're following the basic rules under the Constitution, they're just going to have to abide by the pardon process as laid out on this program here. And one thing he can do initially is to order the Justice Department to cease all prosecutions of the January 6th defendants. Can he order their release short of a pardon? I don't know. I mean, if I were a lawyer or if I were around Trump, I'd be asking all sorts of questions in terms of creatively ensuring that these folks are freed. Because as far as I'm concerned, the prosecution has not been about the rule of law or protecting our democracy. It's about punishing those who dared to dispute the election in a way that no one else has been punished in terms of civil disturbances ever before.
Yes. Yes. So should the Biden family sleep well at night? Moving on from this moment, this seems to be an opportunity that Joe Biden is trying to close the chapter and say no more. You know, we're done with political prosecutions. But if he was going to do that, you'd assume he'd pardon Trump, right? I was thinking about this last night. The genius move would have been to pardon Trump and Hunter at the same time, right? and to say, oh yeah, political prosecutions are wrong. I'm going to take the high road here. What he ends up doing is now taking away all of the capacity for the Democrats to say you're a threat to democracy or no one is above the law. Because this has been the mantra banging the drum for the last 5 years. No one's above the law. No one's above the law. That atomized in a moment, Tom.
Yeah, but, you know, they don't care about that. You know, crooks don't care about intellectual consistency or moral consistency. I'm sure right now MSNBC has wall-to-wall defenders of the indefensible, right? Talking about how this prosecution was a selective prosecution. As I noted on X, the only thing selective about Hunter Biden's prosecutions was that he was selected as opposed to Joe for prosecution. And they selected to pursue charges in a way to try to keep Joe and the rest of the family out of it by pretending all this money he wasn't reporting had nothing to do with 10% for the big guy and the money laundering operation he was running. Look, Joe Biden was the head of a racketeering operation called it's RICO, right? And that's the sort of charges the Justice Department should have been pursuing. And if I were President Trump, I would direct a responsible prosecutor, one I appointed personally, not out of the Justice Department, with all due respect to Pam Bondi, to review what went on here.
So the final question, and something that we are going to continue to push on this program, should there be truth and reconciliation on this? Because we all watched the FBI, head of cyber, say he doesn't even know where the Hunter Biden laptop is. And then lo and behold, they march it in a little baggie when Hunter Biden's being charged, saying, yes, we knew it was real the whole time. It seems like we desperately need, in a Trump era, with a Kash Patel-run FBI and a Pam Bondi-run Justice Department, a full true investigation, and even if it doesn't lead to charges for Hunter Biden, like, just have it out with the American people. These are the crimes that were committed. Yes, the laptop's real. This is the information on it. These are the available crimes. These are our next steps. This is how you bring accountability and say there is actually no privilege or favor in the American legal system.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we'll be doing through the FOIA process. We've been expert in doing that for 3 decades, as you point out. But there's got to be consequences to the misconduct. I mean, you had a grand conspiracy to jail Trump on trumped-up charges, sham charges, deprive him of his civil rights under the color of law. There needs to be a criminal investigation of that. It's not just enough to release information. There's got to be accountability, because I tell you, if they are able to get away with it again, it will happen again. And I only half jokingly say this, but the debate should be is, will Kash Patel be the last director of the FBI? I don't know if that agency is redeemable. The Justice Department in its current form shouldn't survive the 4 years of President Trump. Those agencies should not be able to do to anyone else what they did to Trump.
It did seem like we were about this close, Tom. About this close. It was like a millimeter away from a bullet. We were this close to putting President Trump in prison for the rest of his life. I mean, they would have charged him. They would have put him in jail forever.
And he would have died because they would have denied him the Secret Service protection. The plan was to jail him and see him killed in jail. Let's be clear. So FOIA is great, but we need serious criminal investigations and prosecutions. This Justice Department can't do it. This FBI can't do it. And the challenge for Trump is to figuring out how to get it done in a way that the American people are assured that justice is finally being fairly administered in this god-awful city.
You want to talk about a man who has fought the darkness. This is Tom Fitton. You go and you follow him right now. 2.8 million followers on X. The reason why Tom is so popular is because he has been the first man through the wall. He and Judicial Watch were the first men through the wall in fighting this corruption. They've been calling out in the wilderness for a very long time about this problem. And now there's daylight cracking through. And it's because of guys like Tom. And so, Tom, we are deeply appreciative and thankful for your work, man.
I appreciate the good word, Benny. Thank you.
Yes. Godspeed. Godspeed. Keep fighting.
You too.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we got through an entire Tom Fitton interview without me asking Tom Fitton where he works out and who his personal trainer is. The dude's jacked, all right? He's just jacked, okay? That's because guys like Tom Fitton, I think, are, understanding that there's more than just the health of our justice system and political systems. There's actually our physical health. You can't be you can't be a good fighter in this country if you can't fight for yourself, if you can't get up off the couch and walk up the stairs and engage in the fight. You have to be able to actually take the field of battle, right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I am fighting the biological warfare that is constantly happening in this nation with Field of Greens. Field of Greens is an organic superfood, fruit and vegetable drink that we drink. Currently in the middle of a fast right now. We're gonna do a full reset, right? It's very important. I've been inspired actually by RFK, Dana White, and these guys. I'm like toxin free. Okay, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna start with making sure that we are going back to basics. That's what Field of Green is. Each fruit and vegetable in Field of Greens selected by their doctors to support vital bodily functions: heart, liver, kidney, metabolism, and immune system. Only Field of Greens is backed by the Better Health Promise. At your next physical or checkup, ask your doctor about Field of Greens. Guaranteed or your money back. Join me in Better Health, 15% off, free shipping. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use the promo code Benny. Promo code Benny, fieldofgreens.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply excited about this current moment because as you fight and as you actually break down these systems, they do come collapsing at quick speed, at shockingly fast speed, and they leave a wreckage in their path. Some of that wreckage can be seen on CNN this morning. As we have told you, there have been a preponderance of libs who have been losing their minds over this. There have been a bunch of Democrats who've come out, members of Congress, governors, senators, these Democrats being like, what the hell are you doing? We were going to say for the next 4 years, no one's above the law. No one's above the law. No one's above the law. Ding, 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 ding. We were already set. We were ready to go. We had the t-shirts printed. Now we got to send those t-shirts to Africa with Joe Biden to be worn by the losing team. Because you've just taken away our biggest chit to use against Donald Trump. He's lawless. He's breaking norms. And Democrats are losing their minds over this. It's bad out there. I've never seen a reflex snap reaction like this of the rage and panic because they know that now the moral high ground is utterly eroded. These people accepted the lies. They digested the lies. They spit them back out. They've been willingly and wantonly lied to by Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden just doesn't care about them at all. Just flips on them overnight. Spits in their faces. And now they're left to defend all of this to a party that they continually told that no one was above the law. No. It's breaking some people. Like, here's a dude on CNN. It's CNN's legal correspondent. His name's Eli Honig. And he is having a real one this morning. Check it out.
I want to read you something that the Democratic governor of Colorado, Jared Polis, posted about this. He's not okay with the move. He wrote in part, "I'm disappointed that he put his family ahead of the country. This is a bad precedent that could be abused by later presidents and will sadly tarnish his reputation." Does this damage the justice system?
Well, I totally agree with the governor that this pardon will tarnish Joe Biden's legacy. I mean, Joe Biden, let's be clear here, he lied to us for a long time. He said categorically, "I will not pardon my son." He said, "I will take it off the table." And he couched it in very high-minded terminology. "I respect the Justice Department. I respect the jury's verdict." Well, now he's gone back on that. I don't know how many people actually believed him. I certainly didn't. There's tape of me saying there's no way he's going to make good on this. He's absolutely going to pardon Hunter Biden. But as to whether this tarnishes the justice system, I don't think I would go that far. I think this, like I said, will go down on the list of ignominious presidential pardons. But I don't think law students 50 or 100 years from now are going to look back at this as a horrific miscarriage of justice that undermines the foundation of our justice system. There is a reasonable argument that in some respects Hunter Biden was treated unfairly, and I think that will give Joe Biden some degree of cover here.
You started off good, pal. You started off so good. Yeah, Joe Biden lied to us for years. Does that bother you at all? You got any balls left? Does this concern you as a man? That Joe Biden just straight up lied to your face again and again and again, and then had cringe Jean-Pierre trotted out there again and again and again to lie to you? As a member of the press, does that concern you? I mean, he started off good. And he's like, no one will care in a little while. That's not true, dude. This is not true. This is going to have long-term consequences. Joe Biden is destroyed in his own, by the Democrat Party hitching their wagon to a man that they knew was so morally compromised and so immoral. Not amoral, immoral. You made your bed, you're going to sleep in it. If you're going to be a party that's going to do that, expect destruction. The wages of sin is destruction. And this is what you're seeing. Here's Scott Jennings, also on CNN, saying that this is the worst thing a president could possibly do to his party because he's made everyone liars, and nobody wants to be a part of the Democrat Party when you're constantly lied to by your elites so they can enrich themselves and then bail their kids out of jail. Watch.
You guys can spend all day long trying to spin this, that this is Donald Trump's fault, that this is somehow caused by Donald Trump. Oh, he's appointing the wrong people. Oh, he did it. Oh, this is the worst possible thing a president could possibly do to his party and to the country, to sit for a year and say, I will not do this. I will not do this. The rule of law is sacred. We have to respect the justice system. Juries, we have to respect juries. We have to respect the guardrails and the norms of our democracy. These people are liars. Inflation, it's transitory. Afghanistan, it's a success. The border is secure. Robert Hur is a liar. The videos are cheap fakes. Biden has a cold. He'll never drop out. Oh, I'll never pardon Hunter. It's all a lie. It is all a grift. Every American, except the most partisan, brain-rotted people, are going to be outraged by this today. He is going to leave off. You think 38, 39% job approval is bad? Just you wait. Just you wait. He's disgraced today. Outrageous.
You don't need to, but Scott, you don't need to hurl names and say people like me are brain rotted. Come on, that's a little beyond the pale, even for you, Scott.
Listen,
I
stand
we can
up for yourself.
disagree.
You don't have to defend this. He's leaving office. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to die on this hill. You can say this is wrong because everybody knows that it is. It's wrong. Are you fine with the lying? Are you fine with him sitting before the election all year and lying to the American people? Are you fine with the lying about it?
I don't think that he was lying. I think he made a decision after the fact and decided this was the right thing for him and for his family. Period. Full stop. Donald Trump decided that it was okay to pardon
Joe Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre. How many minutes of tape do we have of both of these people telling the American people this will not happen?
Brain rot. Brain rot. It's been some tough years I'll tell you, it's been some tough years, but it's very easy. It's very exciting to be on the right side of it. It's exciting to have stood with President Trump through all of the, and pardon me, but I just have to, bullshit charges against him. And I can say that with full stature and clarity because they've all been dropped now. And we're hearing rumblings out of Fulton County that they're about to dismiss the final charge against Donald Trump in Fulton County. Amazing. He gets elected president, and they're all gone. What does that say? It tells you that they were simply brought in order to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. They're not real. These crimes are real, and the libs are having to go on TV and defend them. This is why it was so easy to defend Donald Trump through all of this. This is why we actually did, like, when Trump got a mugshot, we did like a celebration live almost. So badass, it's so hardcore. And he's going to be remembered like a rock star, like a punk rock, like a rapper. Donald Trump. This is why people were in the streets cheering for Donald Trump after he got a mugshot. Because they knew that this was a system, a corrupt system that was standing against Donald Trump, trying to lock him up, put him in prison, and kill him. And nearly succeeded. Praise God. Praise God they didn't. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to memorialize that epic victory and that epic win, I encourage you to go over and get yourself a Benny Christmas ornament. Pop it on your tree. People are starting to send us photos of their Christmas ornament on their tree. Thousands have been shipped. We've shipped close to 50,000 of these little bad boys. Memorialize this incredible moment and pop one of these up on your tree, or give it to your liberal aunt. Go to the Benny store right now and get your official Christmas ornament. And remember a red Christmas that we all made happen. Praise God. Thank God. And when you get it, when you get your ornament, send us a photo. I encourage you to order now because we have to actually close this off. We're going to have to close off these ornaments this week and say we can't do any more. Here's one. This is awesome. We can't do any more because we actually have manufacturing and shipping deadlines that we have to hit. So it's the 2nd of December now, and we were making this 100% in America and providing jobs for veterans by doing so. So we have our own logistical limitations. And so please get in and order them today if you want one of these bad boys. The most popular Christmas ornament in American history? I don't know. Maybe. Ladies and gentlemen, our gift to you, a $5 in the Benny store. We just want one of these on every tree in America, okay? So we're not going to stop until we get one on every single tree in America. Speaking of not stopping, there is a rabid little man who he has the coloring of a angry leprechaun, but he also has something else that a leprechaun has, which is a pot of gold. This is a man who regularly strikes gold and has been one of those fancy little leprechauns who's been screaming from the green Irish wilderness about the crimes of the Biden family, about the corruption of Jack Smith, about the criminality of what's truly behind Hunter Biden, which is the Biden Ponzi scheme operation to defraud the American taxpayers. And hot damn, Mike Davis from the Article 3 Project says it ain't over till the fat lady sings for the Biden crime family. And the worst is yet to come for Joe Biden. Mike Davis joining us live now. Mike, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. And those ornaments are great, Ben. How do I get one?
We'll send one to you. They do. They match your hair color. Look at your hair color and your forehead color.
And my eyes. Yes,
that's perfect, Mike. We'll send you a whole pack for the Article 3 offices. Now, Mike, you were sometimes you were maybe the only booking that we could get on this program to talk about the criminalities of Joe Biden. And it's amazing the time that we've come from, because now there are people kicking down our doors to literally come on the show. But you were like one of the only people that we could book, sometimes the only guy, to come in and talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. Because no established Republican or credentialed lawyer wished to do so. So well done in being right, because over the past just less than 12 hours, the Biden crime family admitted all of their crimes and said that they needed the greatest pardon in presidential history in order to keep them out of jail for life. So well done. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ben. It's amazing. More than 10 years for every conceivable federal crime for Hunter Biden. So not only his foreign bribery schemes, the fact that the president of the United States could be compromised by tens of millions of dollars coming from our worst enemies, to what seems like every scumbag Biden, except for the 6-year-old granddaughter who they don't claim. If Hunter Biden trafficked kids and raped kids, he's off the hook under federal criminal law because of this pardon. This is disgusting what Joe Biden has done, but it's very fitting for this scumbag in the White House, Joe Biden, to pardon his son. And just wait, Ben, for the pardons for the rest of the Biden crime family, because again, James Comer, the House Oversight Chairman, has the bank records, $23 million going to what seems like every scummy Biden, right? So what did they do? What were the Bidens selling for $23 million? Because when I look at the Bidens, I wouldn't let them wash my car, let alone $23 million for what?
It's truly remarkable how many pardons are really going to have to roll off the printing press here. You got Keith Olbermann up this morning. I'm not sure if we still have it up, but here we go. Keith Olbermann up this morning saying that Joe Biden needs to get 10 million pardons out the door. Every staffer, every media figure, everybody who's ever worked for him in a prima facie admission that the entire Washington, D.C. ecosystem is filled with criminals defrauding the American taxpayer.
Yeah, it's great that Keith Olbermann used his hour of computer time from when he's otherwise in a padded cell. They give him an hour on a computer, and this is the kind of crap that he sends out. I mean, it's perfectly fitting that the few nut jobs who come to Joe Biden's defense include Eric Holder and Keith Olbermann.
Dude, what is the deal with Eric Holder jumping up in the response to Jared Polis? I mean, I know that you have dear connections to the state of Colorado, and I don't know what your real take is on Jared Polis, but to his credit, he comes out, one of the first guys out the gate, to say, this is trash. This is garbage, what Joe Biden just did here. And I'm sure you agree with him on that. And then here's Eric Holder in the mentions being like, no, it's not, Governor. What's going on with Eric Holder, dude? Who pissed in his coffee?
Yeah, it's Eric. Remember, Eric Holder is Obama's wingman. He was the OG for politicizing and weaponizing our Justice Department, including the FBI, to go after political enemies. And I think Eric Holder's he's wetting his pants right now, because you have people like Pam Bondi going in as AG and Kash Patel, our man, going in as the FBI director. And maybe, just maybe, they're going to uncover this ongoing criminal conspiracy against Trump, his top aides like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, who went to prison, his supporters on January 6th, parents, Christians. There's a reckoning coming to the Justice Department, and maybe, just maybe, Eric Holder had his fingerprints on this.
Wow. So you think Eric Holder is now fighting for his life, maybe legally and politically, and because the dude doesn't post. And suddenly yesterday, there's like all these slew of posts from Eric Holder trying to explain this away. This seems like panic time, man.
Yeah, the best is when all these former federal prosecutors and Justice Department officials go out there and post on Twitter or wherever they're posting saying, oh, no, that I wouldn't have charged Hunter Biden for these gun crimes. They don't get charged. That's just complete nonsense. It's like 93% of people who get charged with these gun crimes go to prison, right? And Hunter Biden, they did everything they could to try to hide these crimes with David Weiss, the special counsel, handpicked by both Democrat senators. They covered up for the Bidens. They went after, when they got caught, when David Weiss got caught, they went after crimes against Hunter Biden that would not implicate Joe Biden, like FARA violations, foreign corruption, and went after these gun crimes, which are serious crimes. Let's talk about privilege. Let's talk about white privilege. Hunter Biden, if he were a black man, he would be in prison right now for these gun crimes. But because he's a privileged white guy, he's going to get a pardon. And it's insane that these woke DEI operatives in the Obama and Biden Justice Departments pretend like this is no big deal. He wouldn't have been charged if he weren't Hunter Biden. That's complete nonsense.
Via Joe Biden's own crack laws, Hunter Biden should be in prison for the rest of his life. 5 years, doesn't have a choice. Joe Biden signed that law, the Tough on Crime bill in 1992, 1994. Joe Biden was its author. So yeah, it's spitting in the face. Now, hundreds of thousands of black men got locked up in that law, and Joe Biden was right. Judge didn't have a choice. Minimum mandatory 5 years in prison.
Yeah.
And Hunter Biden gets to skate, and not only that, leave baggies of crack all over the White House.
Yeah, just maybe that's why black men voted for President Trump in record numbers this election. What did they get? I think President Trump got like 25+% of the black male vote. That's a huge number. And maybe, just maybe, they are sick of the weaponization of law enforcement against their political enemies. And they saw that happening to President Trump, just like it happens every day in their community. And you just pointed out Exhibit A, Ben, where Joe Biden, when he was the senator, he pushed a extremely harsh bill that if you had a quarter size amount of crack, you went to prison for 5 years, right? How much crack did Hunter Biden have? And then Joe Biden just pardoned him. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I think, these black men who voted for Trump understand that we have a broken and corrupt justice system.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Donald Trump. So Donald Trump moving into the Oval, Donald Trump gets the chair, and now Donald Trump is in charge. Pam Bondi at Justice and Kash Patel at FBI. How would you advise them to move through these waters now that this pardon is out, and maybe we'll get more pardons for the Biden family? Can Joe Biden pardon himself? Because you went viral last week predicting this. Last week you said, hold on, if Joe Biden pardons Hunter, well, then he can't waive any type of immunity for any type of prosecution when he's testifying. He's gonna have to testify. There's no Fifth Amendment rights. And so, what happens next right here? And how would you actually, from my perspective, I would love to see criminal charges, Mike, but at the very least, I want to see truth and reconciliation, where the Justice Department and the FBI comes clean about what they've done to protect this family and say that here's how it will never happen again. What's next?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this. I would say to the House Republicans, you have subpoena power right now. This pardon, Hunter Biden was pardoned for every crime for the last almost 11 years. He can't claim his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. So haul Hunter in before the House and make him explain this Biden family corruption. And this is not about Hunter's hookers and blow and guns. This is about the President of the United States, Joe Biden, being compromised by $23 million that they can find going to every Biden family member. What the hell were these corrupt foreign actors paying the Bidens to do? That means the President of the United States could be compromised, and House Republicans need to figure that out and do an intel assessment to figure out how our national security has been damaged. Joe Biden would not get a top secret security clearance, right, because of his foreign dealings. And he's the President of the United States. And we need to figure out what damage has been done to our country. What did Joe Biden do for Russia and China and Ukraine and Kazakhstan and all these other third world hellholes that the Bidens, from which the Bidens took money? What did Joe Biden do as president for that $23 million? Because they're not paying Joe Biden and Hunter Biden because Hunter Biden, is a crackhead who makes porn videos with his nieces. They paid him for something.
So you have a situation where this doesn't protect Joe, right? Like Hunter Biden could still testify against Joe Biden, or you could still bring the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court would not protect a Joe Biden in 2014 doing dirty deals in Ukraine.
Well, I mean, it presumably not. If he's doing it in his purely personal capacity, presidential immunity applies to the president. It's undecided whether it applies to the vice president for his official acts. But I would say this: remember, if now that Hunter's pardoned, you haul him in to testify, and if he refuses, you hold him in contempt of Congress, and then Pam Bondi and Kash Patel prosecute him starting in January of this year if he refuses to testify. So let's get to the bottom of this. Let's figure out how the president of the United States is compromised so this never happens again. This is, again, so much bigger than Hunter Biden smoking crack and making porn videos and being a creep with his nieces. This is about the national security of the United States.
So something that you've been obviously on the trail of is January 6 pardons and righting the wrongs there at January 6. Now, of course, maybe you can never actually right the wrongs, but everything from restitution from the Justice Department to a pardon on day one with President Trump. How would you advise Donald Trump to approach this? And as of noting that we kicked off the show with Donald Trump's initial response saying, wait a second, what about all the January 6th political prisoners? This was Trump's reflex reaction. So it does seem to us as though Trump is gearing up for something big with January 6th.
You know, after this Hunter Biden pardon, I used to say this, that Trump should pardon almost all January 6th defendants, except for the ones who were violent, and then commute their sentences, because nothing that happened on January 6th calls for a 22-year prison sentence, especially when the Biden Justice Department let BLM and Antifa and Hamas rioters cause a hell of a lot more death and destruction than what happened on January 6th. But after Hunter Biden's pardon, I say pardon them all. You know, if you're gonna pardon Hunter Biden for the last nearly 11 years with potentially raping kids and selling out our national security, I don't want to hear a damn thing from Joe Biden or Democrats about the rule of law. They can go to hell. Pardon all these January 6 defendants.
And Donald Trump would need some tough backing in order to get that done. He's going to have people watch his six and hold the side up. The Article 3 project is going in hard to advocate for Kash Patel. I've been seeing your work all weekend. Mike, you've been doing great work. Obviously, Kash is a friend of our show, and we thoroughly endorse this decision for FBI director. Where do we stand right now in the Kash Patel nomination? What will happen to senators who voted for Merrick Garland and danced for Chris Wray, but then would dare vote against Kash Patel?
It's not going to happen. And I would say this to these 53 Senate Republicans. I want you to remember this, that your job as a senator is to vote to confirm President Trump's qualified cabinet picks along with other senior executive branch appointees. The president doesn't get to pick your Senate staff, and you don't get to pick his, right? You need to make sure that these nominees are qualified. Kash Patel is clearly qualified. He has been a public defender, a national security prosecutor. He got awards from the Obama Justice Department for his national security prosecution. He was a top official in the House Intel Committee. He was a top official on the White House National Security Council. He was a top official in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. He was the Chief of Staff in the Department of Defense. He is a competent loyalist who's going to go in to the FBI on behalf of President Trump, who got a mandate for change from the American people, all 7 swing states, 312 electoral votes, to bring serious reforms, bold reforms to the FBI. Kash is the man to do that. He is qualified. You need to vote to confirm all qualified executive branch top officials, including Kash, unless you can point to clear and convincing evidence that they're disqualified because of their personal misconduct. You're not going to be able to do that with Kash. We don't have a Me Too presumption of guilt with any of these picks, including Pete Hegseth. So if you think that he's done something wrong, come forward with clear and convincing evidence. We don't have Christine Blasey Ford nonsense. We don't have the presumption of guilt. We got rid of that with Kavanaugh. You're welcome, America, from Mike Davis. And we're not going to play these games. And so if these picks are qualified, Senate Republicans must vote to confirm it. I'm going to tell your audience, go to article3project.org, article number 3project.org, and take action. One of the key action items is to confirm Kash to the FBI. Light up both of your home state senators, call their offices, light them up on social media, send them emails, let them know. Look, Kash just signed up for X yesterday. He already has almost 600,000 followers. That tells you what kind of a groundswell of support Kash Patel has. And so I hope these 53 Senate Republicans understand that this is a red line. If they don't vote to confirm this highly qualified FBI director nominee, they're going to face the political wrath of the Article 3 project.
I just can't imagine why anyone would consider voting not only against President Trump and their constituency who delivered them the majority, but also against the will of the American people. I've never seen a groundswell like this with Kash. Bro, like you're very online, just like I am. This is probably the most popular pick that Donald Trump has appointed in his administration for obvious reasons. But you are actively voting against the most powerful movement in my lifetime in America if you are a Republican and you decide to vote against Kash Patel.
Yeah, I don't think that Senate Republicans have a political death wish, meaning that I don't think that they want to get primaried or just have Republicans sit at home and so they lose, or we just make your political lives living hell. So don't even think about it. He's qualified unless, again, here's the standard. This is a qualified senior executive branch political appointee for the president. His party better vote for this pick unless they can point to clear and convincing evidence that pick is disqualified from personal misconduct. They're not going to be able to do that with Kash. He's had top secret SCI, SAP, the highest security clearances in the past. There aren't skeletons in Kash's closet. So let's move forward so President Trump can move forward with his electoral mandates and reform the Justice Department with Pam Bondi, including the FBI with Kash Patel.
And just really quickly here, Mike, in closing, I believe it would be very good for the American people, even if it doesn't lead to charges, for someone like a Kash Patel to say, here's all the evidence we actually have on the Bidens. Here's the available crimes that are here on the laptop. Here's, like, to have someone with an official, I know Marco Polo has done great work on this, but to have it done from a Justice Department dais with an FBI seal, and you have them say, this is what they did. And it should never happen again. I would be so very much in favor of that, along with the Epstein list, the Diddy list, and so on. I think the American public needs it.
I think you're getting a little bit soft, Ben, because you just want to do a report. I actually want to round these people up under 18 USC Section 241, conspiracy against rights, and throw them in prison.
Well, here, we have Christmas coming up, right? And this could be the present wrapped right under the tree.
You could keep your ornament. I want people to go to prison.
You won't get a better endorsement than that.
Yes.
Maybe we could have both. You could think about it. It's America's golden era. And Mike Davis is a man who helped make it happen, ladies and gentlemen. Head on over and follow Mike Davis. 315,000 Americans. Can't be wrong. Look at this. The man in the arena who's been fighting. Godspeed, Mike.
Thank you, Ben.
You know that Trump, take a step back. You can judge a man by his enemies. Who's the guy's enemies? Who are the people fighting against him? You know, Trump has all the right enemies, as they would say. So does Kash Patel. You've seen Kash Patel on our program. In fact, the most viral clips about Kash Patel and his nomination on Saturday night, they came from our program. Because, humbly, we were one of the few shows that would book Kash Patel. How else do you explain it? Like, there was a time in the wilderness when it was only cuck anti-Trump Republicans that ever got booked on things. People who betrayed Donald Trump. People get booked on the biggest networks or the biggest shows. People that would stand against Donald Trump. We never did. And we only ever brought in people who would tell the truth, actually, to you. It wasn't about anything other than letting you know what actually happened. Hot damn, ALX. That was like 3 years ago where Kash Patel broke the news on our show that Nancy Pelosi turned down the National Guard. That happened first here in a 4th of July broadcast that we did from like a spare bedroom in my house. And Kash was here. Kash was there in an American flag shirt, drinking beer and telling us Like, what was really happening? And so anyway, the point is that Cash has been telling the truth on this program for a long time. We know him to be an honorable, moral man, and you know him as well, because he's like come to this audience to say thank you and to like feed in the truth. There's a lot of great energy out there, and now Cash Patel is going to do the hardest thing that any man could possibly do, which is to stand against the armies of darkness with their favorite tool, which is the weapon of the Justice Department. The Justice Department is just a bunch of lawyers filing paperwork. The FBI is the actual weapon that is used by the Justice Department to go round up J6ers, to go put little grannies in prison who are praying outside of abortion clinics, to go spy on Christians, and so on and so on and so on, to raid Donald Trump's house. The FBI is their nuclear option. And now the ramparts have been breached and they are defending it and screaming like demons. You can tell how angry they are. You can tell how much they love the FBI as a weapon to be used against their political enemy. But the reaction to Cash Patel being nominated. Trump selection of Cash Patel to lead FBI electrifies America First movement. And it does. And it did. And the reason why is because Cash has done the work. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very, very excited about the selection. All of the right people are pissed off about it, and all of the right people are happy about it. Cash Patel talking about restoring the faith in the American justice system on this program. Cash Patel has said people on the Epstein list, people on the Diddy list, people like Jack Smith, they should not sleep at night. Because in an American justice system that is actually run by people who are interested not in protecting pedophiles, but in actually delivering justice to criminals, they're the ones who are the criminals. They're going to jail. You heard it on this show first, ladies and gentlemen, the great Cash Patel.
Yes. That's unacceptable. That's just one example. And then when we go back to DOJ and FBI, we still don't have all the list, all the FISAs, all of the stuff they did to 275,000 Americans illegally in 1 year. Put that out there. I'm not saying put in the recipe on how to do it. We can keep the hood on the engine, but we can show the American people how they violated our rights. And to me, what you said is the most important, restoring trust.
Yes.
In our agencies and departments. That the way to do that is not to get a piñata and just punch them mercilessly and hoping for some bubble gum to pop out. The way to do that is to literally give the American people the truth. And that's what they feared about Donald Trump. He's going to come in there and maybe give him the Epstein list and maybe give him the P. Diddy list. You know, he's going to come up there and maybe do all these things, and they are terrified.
Yeah, I believe that's part of the reason why Jimmy Kimmel was crying last night on his program.
You know, it's the same thing with Epstein's list. It's like, what the hell are these Republicans doing? Oh, I saw you give out the list.
I saw you make news this morning about that. I got to get to that.
Yeah.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? And why is it that the Senate, you know, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if you release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? You're going to accept Dick Durbin's word or whoever that guy is as to who is on that list and who isn't, and that it can and can't be released? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls. God knows the FBI and DOJ aren't going to do anything, but how are you going to reward the FBI with a new headquarters building after their illegal surveillance on Donald Trump continues with a reauthorization of FISA, and we can't even get basic documents out? This is why America hates Congress, and this is why I'm tired of the Republican majority saying Jack Smith has just been exposed by Judge Cannon of doing what? Lying to a federal court. These guys keep doing it. The judge just unsealed documents in the Jack Smith case down in Florida, which says The prosecutors themselves have admitted to tampering with evidence, to moving the very boxes from one location outside of D.C. to South Florida before they ever even charged Donald Trump. How in the world can you not be prosecuting and charging these constitutional gangsters that are at DOJ? And they learn it from the same place, the top down, the same AGs, the same DAGs, the same FBI directors who are cheering them on. I hope Judge Cannon, he's an actual fun legal thing that should actually be occurring. Judge Cannon should be implementing actual contempt proceedings against Jack Smith and the Department of Justice for lying to a federal judge and withholding evidence of exclusion and innocence from Donald Trump. Those contempt proceedings would be righteous, and I'd like to see those. Maybe we could put Jack Smith in prison.
Maybe we could put Jack Smith in prison. Also, man, Killer Klein, thank you for getting the lighting right on this program. It's like watching some of these old clips. It's like, wait a second, were we broadcasting in an ISIS hostage video? What is that? What are these old clips? We're thrilled about it, ladies and gentlemen. We're so excited about this, the future here. We got the energy to win. We got our cup feels very, very full this holiday season. I hope that you have an amazing Thanksgiving. Maybe you're looking for your own source of energy. Blackout coffee is mine. Ladies and gentlemen, Blackout coffee fills the cup. It fills the cup up. It's in the cup right now. There it is. Okay, hot coffee this morning. It's freezing in Tampa. It's like 40 degrees in Tampa. I don't know. How cold is it where you live? It's cold this morning, Killer Klein, in Tampa. It's chilly. I was wearing a jacket in the studio. We're doing show prep. Blackout coffee keeps me hot and energized in the morning to go bring the energy for the show. I drink it every single morning. Ladies and gentlemen, help me fight the commies. Go into blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny for 20% off your first order. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Be awake, not woke. You can also find them on Public Square. It's an awesome, awesome Florida company run by patriots, run by people who actually know what it takes to have the energy to fight the commies. Ladies and gentlemen, Blackout Coffee. Okay. We have our Salt That Live of the day. Speaking of things that go great with coffee, and a little bit of salt on the rim, you should try it. Ladies and gentlemen, the salty brigade. Let's go and dump salt on Morning Joe. Morning Joe, who recently had to go and kiss Trump's ass down in Mar-a-Lago to their great humiliation. But it's a glorious moment, right? It's an incredible moment. We look at the sunny side. We look at the bright side of these things, just like the Hunter Biden pardon. Morning Joe, who hasn't, apparently, according to my timeline, hasn't mentioned the Hunter Biden pardon one time on their show. You want an indication that this is a nightmare move for Democrats, that this is a massive backfire for Democrats. Look at the fact that Morning Joe didn't even talk about it on their program. Oh, man. That shows panic time here. It is panic time about Kash Patel, someone they did talk about in our salty clip of the day.
This is not only bad for the men and women who run the FBI. This is not only bad for the rule of law. This is not only bad for the First Amendment. This is not only bad for the United States of America. This is bad for Donald Trump. This is bad for the Trump administration. This is not going to end well. So I think the best case scenario for everybody is that Kash Patel and this talk of Kash Patel ends like the Matt Gaetz nomination ended. Because this will not go well for anybody. And I still believe there will be 4 Republican senators who will not vote to confirm somebody who says he's going to throw judges in jail. He's going to throw bureaucrats in jail. He's going to throw reporters in jail who did not go along with the 2020 Stop the Steal conspiracy.
What do you got on Kash exactly? That's amazing. I watched the freak out all weekend. We did a meltdown breaking news video of all the meltdowns over Kash Patel. Like, nobody ever attacks Kash's pedigree, his capacity to do his job, his fidelity and love of this country. That's because it's unimpeachable. Kash Patel is a patriot who fights for the rule of law and always has. One of the coolest part of Kash's resume is that Kash Patel was the lawyer for SEAL Team 6 and the special operators in our American military. As you can well imagine, they do some pretty ratchet stuff, right? Like when you're going out and killing terrorists, you're going to have legal basis for operations for some of the most hardcore operators in the world, and Kash Patel was that guy. They chose Kash Patel to defend SEAL Team 6, to defend Delta Force, to defend our special forces. It's freaking awesome, Kash Patel's pedigree. And he did so. And Kash Patel was there to help America kill bad guys, the real bad guys. And ladies and gentlemen, as they always say, we're gonna, when they swear in a president, protect us from enemies foreign and domestic. And now there is a domestic enemy, and it is the rot, parasitic corruption inside of the heart of our law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and the entire federal government. And it's all coming down. It's all collapsing right now. There's not enough prayer time in my day to thank God for this moment. One of the individuals who is obviously bringing forward the full-scale collapse of a system that has to be funded, right? So it's like none of these people will work for free. You got to pay the piper. And the easiest way to cut off the corruption and the oppressive suffocation of federal government is to end the money train, end the gravy train, Doge, ladies and gentlemen. Vivek, Elon Musk have brought on board someone shocking this week. Bernie freaking Sanders. Bernie Sanders comes out of nowhere on X, ALX, am I wrong? Out of nowhere. No one was planning on this. Saying, I love Elon Musk. Elon Musk and the job he is doing is spectacular. The Pentagon, with a budget of $800 billionaires at the Pentagon. The billionaires at the Pentagon. Last year, only 13 senators voted against the military-industrial complex. A defense budget full of waste and fraud. Demonstrate. Bro, is Lex Friedman there saying, happy to see this. Have we won? Bernie Sanders was stabbed in the back by the Democrat Party so many times. Bernie Sanders actually won primaries. Joe Biden lost primaries. Bernie Sanders won primaries. Hillary Clinton lost primaries to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders represents the populist wing of the Democrat Party. Bernie Sanders is for closed border. Bernie Sanders isn't a good guy, okay? I'm not sitting here advocating for him. I'm saying he has more in common with current mainstream populism of the MAGA movement than he does with the Democrats. Democrats are forever war corporatist party that want globalism. Bernie Sanders, just like a few years ago, was like, close all the borders, don't let in a single illegal alien, increase the productivity and the wages of the American worker. I'm for those things. We might have different ways of getting there, but I'm for the end result. Bernie Sanders wants to cancel NAFTA? Yes. Good. And let's end public sector unions that negotiate against the taxpayer. It's like a sick evil. It's utterly unconstitutional. Bernie Sanders, straight out of the gate, literally no one was asking, and Bernie Sanders comes in saying, I support Elon Musk, which is a de facto way of saying I support Donald Trump. It makes me wonder if Bernie Sanders is going to switch parties. Bernie Sanders already caucuses like an independent. And it makes me wonder if Bernie Sanders is going to go the independent route. He's not going to change to the Republican Party. He's not going to. He's from Vermont. It's a bad idea. But Bernie Sanders, who I think is already effectively an independent that just caucuses with Democrats, if Bernie Sanders is going to break away. And then maybe if more senators do this. It's really, really interesting. And of course, who can disagree with Bernie Sanders? Other Democrats, other Democrats like Jared Moskowitz have said that what Elon Musk is doing is something that is very good for the public and their faith in America. Ro Khanna is also another one. He's a Democrat. And there are a slate of libs who, like across the board, are saying, hold on, end wasteful and corrupt spending in the federal government. How can I be against that? Even if I want that spending, like how could I ever defend that when I go home to my constituencies? They can't. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time. This is the time. Are we actually winning, boys? Boys, are we winning? Bernie Sanders and Elon Musk joining forces with Vivek to end wasteful and criminal government spending? Remember these Pentagon contracts? You don't have a Ukraine war. You don't even have a Joe Biden without the Pentagon contracts. The Pentagon contracts are how the kickbacks happen. Forever war is how these people get rich. The only reason why every house in the DMV area, the richest neighborhoods in all of America are surrounding DC and the Pentagon, which is in Northern Virginia. Why? What do they create? What's the industry exactly? Well, there is none. Is there iron there? Is there coal? No. There's the money printing press and the Pentagon to do forever wars to enrich defense contractors and the Bidens. They're going to starting wars in Ukraine and then impeaching Donald Trump for even asking questions about it. It's how the grift works, and this is now the final closing end completion of the circle for the grift. The grift was always strip mine this country for everything it's worth and then pardon myself on the way out the door. That's been the play. And now the American public know it, and it is indefensible. Democrats aren't defending Biden. Democrats aren't even defending the military budgets they vote for. It's a special time. You're seeing the remaking of America. The reason why you have inflation, and inflation is ticking up, tick, 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 tick. The reason why you have that, of course, is government spending. Obsessive, psychotic government spending that is the single greatest threat to America. Elon Musk does say that. It's why we would consider advising you right now to invest in gold. Ladies and gentlemen, our friends at Allegiance Gold can take care of you. Allegiance Gold is the company who we invest with in order to protect and hedge against American inflation. There are really cool things going on in the market. Donald Trump's there's going to be there's dynamicism. There's going to be like ups and downs. It's going to be great, all-time highs. There's going to be a lot of exciting things that happen in the next couple of years. But the most exciting thing and the largest outperforming asset in the physical world is gold and precious metals. You should invest in that, and just as a hedge. Just take a little bit, invest in that. That's what I do. Get $5,000 of free silver with qualifying investment. Go to protectwithbenny.com today or call 844-66-BENNY. Protectwithbenny.com, 844-66-BENNY. Performances may vary. Consult with your tax attorney and financial professional before making an investment decision. Ooh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, take whatever whatever you got in your safe. You got a safe at home. What do you got in your safe? I got some gold. What else you got in your safe? I got AR-15s. I got firearms. Firearms and gold, okay? Well, you can't be a man without practicing your rights to defend your family, to protect your family. Obviously, we practice our rights so we don't lose them. This is our Monday Gun Day, brought to you by Spikes Tactical. Oh yeah, baby. It's time. It's time for the restoration of American greatness and reality to reassert itself. Federal judge upholds disarming unlawful immigrants who have not sworn allegiance to the United States of America. That's something that you do when you get naturalized, and then you get all the full protections of the American Constitution. What Democrat judges decided was that illegal criminal aliens have the same rights as you and me. They freaking don't. And said that they could just go buy as many firearms as they want. Now, firearm sales are through the roof right now. They've never been higher, and I think that's freaking awesome. I want Americans to be armed and armed to the teeth. If we don't practice our rights, we lose them. But these people aren't Americans. They're criminal aliens here, and we shouldn't be creating an army of criminal aliens who haven't sworn allegiance to this nation and aren't naturalized citizens. This is psychotic. But it's happening. On November 21st, 2024, federal judge Edmund Sargas Jr. ruled that disarming unlawful immigrants who have not sworn allegiance to the United States comports with the nation's history Sargas is a judge in the U.S. District Southern Court of Ohio, Eastern District. He issued the decision in response to a criminal alien's repeated attempts to have gun charges dismissed after he was indicted after being in illegal alien possession of a firearm. The Bureau of Tobacco, Alcohol, and Firearms and Explosives investigated, conducted surveillance on him, and seized about 170 firearms and tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition. What is this criminal alien doing with 170 firearms and tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition? If the American down the street, and I actually know some people that have extensive gun collections, has that kind of a kind of firearm collection, that kicks ass. That's super cool. If you are here illegally and you're stockpiling, and I know as a matter of fact that there is massive gang operations across the border from the cartels and massive ISIS operations and people on the terrorist watch list coming over here, you are setting something up horrible to happen. There is no explanation for this. Judge warned that the criminal alien, in light of Heller, the Supreme Court has suggested that the term of the people protected by the Second Amendment refers to a class of persons who are part of the national community or who have otherwise developed sufficient connection to this country to be considered part of that community. He noted that some of the circuit courts are divided on what it means to be included in the national community. The court should actually clarify this. Sargas went through through history and pointed to several U.S. statutes, noting that they reveal that there was well-established tradition of prohibiting the possession of firearms by those who did not swear loyalty to the federal government. Obviously, thank you. An Obama judge ruled. Hopefully, this will overturn that ruling. I have to look into the actual cases. Obama judge ruled that criminal aliens can just go arm themselves to the teeth. So we can have just a foreign army that is armed here inside of the American heartland. Well, I have a bold strategy. Let's see how it pays off. It won't pay off. Not only should criminal aliens be disarmed, they should be deported and then come back legally if they wish. Ladies and gentlemen, self-deportation, something that is happening all across the board. So sad to hear about Ellen. Ellen self-deported to England, the old merry old England, old UK, and immediately had her new mansion flooded. Like the second she landed there. So, gotta tell you, self-deportation it's a very powerful tool. A lot of bureaucrats are self-deporting out of Washington D.C. Hopefully, some of those bureaucrats will be in the ATF. We don't need any more of them hunting down and knocking down our doors and harassing us, legal firearm owners who are Americans by birth, and our birthright is defending ourselves in self-defense. The AR-15 of the Johnson household is the Spikes Tactical AR-15, and it is a tasty, tasty treat. Would make a great Christmas present. I don't know. Would it be hard to hide? It's got quite a shape to it. You might be able to know what that is under the tree. Just some ideas, just some honest ideas from your boy Benny. That's our Spikes Tactical Monday Gun Day. Boom, shakalaka, as we say here. Our verse of the day, 1 Corinthians. But thank God he gives us victory over sin and death through our Lord Jesus Christ. But thank God. We just are entering our season of thankfulness, right? That happens here through Thanksgiving all the way through the Christmas season. We are deeply thankful for you. We're deeply thankful for this nation. We're deeply thankful that you helped us save this nation. We don't have any other way to say it other than the hand of God saved us. A confluence of miracles saved this nation. And now it's time to, to put our heads down and to say thank you by doing the real work to save this place and deliver it back to the people and back to the land of God's promise, which is how this nation was intended. And that's what we were going to do on this program. You can join us, of course, if you wish. You can subscribe to the Benny Brigade. You could subscribe to a membership on our social media platforms like X. You can support our show. You can get yourself the most popular Christmas ornament in America and get it soon because we are quickly running out of the capacity to make them. Actually, at capacity to make them right now. and are searching for more people to print them. And we found some, but to get them shipped to you by Christmas to hang on your beautiful tree, please send them in. Send in photos of them on your tree. We're getting, we've sent out thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of these Christmas ornaments, ladies and gentlemen. $5 and our present to you this Christmas, a red Christmas, a Christmas where we stand together, march together on to victory. Ladies and gentlemen, be upright and upstanding. We're going to have a great week. We're going to have a great week. I can feel it. Man, I can feel it in my bones. God bless you. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
This is #1 son on the license plate. I'm gonna make you proud, Daddy.
You make your daddy proud.
I'm gonna make you so proud.
You make your daddy proud.
You're gonna be so proud.
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 What are you going to wish for? How many wishes do I get? As many as you want. Really? Try it.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. You'll probably threaten to resign, but in the end, I will be released. The reason I'll be released is the same reason we think I'll be convicted. I do rub shoulders with some of the most vile, sadistic men calling themselves leaders today. But a president of the United States, sometimes it's embarrassing to have his fingerprints on the guns.
The smartest man I know keeps his finger on the trigger. A no yellow type of tweaker and an intellectual wigger. My son, my diaper, my presidency. Name 3 things that turned out so shitty. You're my rock, crack rock. You're my voice getting louder. You're my guiding light, you whisper. You're my intellectual wigger. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.